Stories and Documentary Network. The Xiongnu Empire was a formidable confederation of nomadic tribes that flourished from the 3rd century BCE to the late 1st century CE, primarily in the steppes of Central Asia. Known for their exceptional horseback riding skills and military prowess, the Xiongnu posed a significant threat to the Han Dynasty of China and played a crucial role in shaping the geopolitical landscape of ancient Eurasia. At the height of their power, the Xiongnu controlled vast territories stretching from the eastern regions of modern-day Mongolia to parts of Central Asia, exerting influence over various other nomadic groups and settled societies. The Xiongnu Empire's society was intricately organized, with a sophisticated political and military structure. They were ruled by a supreme leader known as the Chanyu, who presided over a complex hierarchical system of sub-kings, nobles, and tribal chiefs. Their economy was predominantly based on pastoralism, but they also engaged in extensive trade with neighboring states, including the Han Chinese, Sogdians, and other Central Asian cultures. The historical significance of the Xiongnu Empire lies in their role as both adversaries and catalysts for the Han Dynasty. The continuous conflicts and negotiations between the Xiongnu and the Han led to the development of various military and diplomatic strategies, including the Great Wall's construction and the practice of hekin, or peace marriage, wherein Chinese princesses were married off to Xiongnu leaders to foster peace. The interactions between the Xiongnu and the Han also stimulated significant cultural and economic exchanges along the early Silk Road. The Xiongnu served as intermediaries, facilitating the movement of goods, ideas, and technologies between East and West. Their dominance over the Central Asian steppes helped shape the region's historical trajectory, influencing subsequent nomadic empires, such as the Turkic Khaganate and the Mongol Empire. Moreover, the study of the Xiongnu Empire provides valuable insights into the dynamics of nomadic societies and their relationships with settled civilizations. It challenges traditional narratives that often portray nomads as mere barbarians and highlights their complex socio-political structures and contributions to world history. The primary sources of information about the Xiongnu come from Chinese historical texts, particularly the records of the Grand Historian, Shiji, by Sima Qian, and the Book of Han, Hanshu, by Ban Jiyu. These texts offer detailed accounts of Xiongnu customs, political events, and interactions with the Han Dynasty. However, they are not without bias, as they were written from the perspective of the Xiongnu's adversaries. Archaeological discoveries have also significantly contributed to our understanding of the Xiongnu. Excavations of burial sites, settlements, and artifacts have provided tangible evidence of their material culture, social hierarchy, and interactions with other cultures. Notable archaeological sites include the Noin Ula burial mounds in Mongolia and various sites in the Ordos region. Modern historiography has seen a more nuanced interpretation of the Xiongnu, incorporating perspectives from anthropology, archaeology, and comparative studies of nomadic empires. Scholars have explored the complexities of Xiongnu society, their economic practices, and their diplomatic strategies, moving beyond the earlier, more simplistic portrayals. The Xiongnu Empire emerged in the vast and rugged steppes of Central Asia, an expanse that includes parts of present-day Mongolia, northern China, and southern Siberia. This region is characterized by its harsh climate, with extreme temperatures ranging from scorching summers to frigid winters. The vast grasslands and sparse forests of the steppes provided an ideal environment for a nomadic lifestyle centered around animal husbandry. The steppes offered both opportunities and challenges for the Xiongnu. The wide open spaces facilitated their mobility and allowed them to develop exceptional horsemanship skills, which became a cornerstone of their military prowess. However, the harsh and unpredictable climate also necessitated a highly adaptable and resilient society capable of surviving in an often inhospitable environment. The ethnic composition of the Xiongnu remains a topic of scholarly debate, as they were a confederation of various tribes with diverse origins. Some historians and archaeologists suggest that the Xiongnu were a multi-ethnic coalition that included Turkic, Mongolic, and possibly Indo-European elements. This diversity is reflected in their material culture, which shows influences from different regions and peoples. Linguistic evidence, primarily derived from Chinese sources, indicates that the Xiongnu language might have had Turkic and Mongolic elements, though it remains largely undeciphered. The Xiongnu's ability to integrate various tribes and ethnic groups under a unified political and military structure was a key factor in their rise to power and their sustained influence over a vast territory. The early societal structure of the Xiongnu was hierarchical and clan-based, with a strong emphasis on kinship and loyalty. At the top of this hierarchy was the Chanyu, the supreme ruler, who wielded considerable authority over the confederation. Below the Chanyu were various nobles and tribal leaders who controlled individual clans and regions within the empire. The Xiongnu society was also organized around a warrior ethos, with young men undergoing rigorous training in horsemanship, archery, and combat from an early age. This martial culture was essential for the Xiongnu's military campaigns and their ability to defend their territory against rivals. Economically, the Xiongnu were primarily pastoralists, relying on livestock such as horses, sheep, goats, and cattle for their sustenance. They practiced transhumance, moving their herds seasonally to access fresh pastures. In addition to pastoralism, the Xiongnu engaged in hunting, gathering, and limited agriculture, supplemented by trade with neighboring civilizations. Mythological accounts and archaeological evidence provide valuable insights into the origins and early history of the Xiongnu. Chinese historical texts, such as the records of the Grand Historian, Shiji, recount various legends about the Xiongnu's origins. One prominent myth suggests that the Xiongnu descended from a divine ancestor born of a wolf and a doe, symbolizing their fierce and resilient nature. Archaeological discoveries have been instrumental in shedding light on Xiongnu society. Excavations of burial sites, such as those at Noin Ula in northern Mongolia, have unearthed elaborate tombs containing richly adorned bodies, intricate jewelry, and finely crafted weapons. These findings indicate a sophisticated material culture and suggest a high degree of social stratification. Additionally, artifacts such as horse harnesses, weapons, and everyday items provide evidence of the Xiongnu's skilled craftsmanship and their interactions with other cultures. For example, some artifacts show influences from Chinese, Scythian, and other Central Asian artistic traditions, highlighting the Xiongnu's role as a cultural and economic intermediary. The Xiongnu's relationship with their environment is also evident in the archaeological record. Analysis of animal remains from Xiongnu sites shows a reliance on domesticated livestock and the importance of horses in their daily life and military activities. Moreover, the strategic location of their settlements and burial sites reflects their understanding of the landscape and its resources. The Xiongnu Empire was characterized by a highly organized and hierarchical political structure that allowed it to maintain control over vast territories and diverse populations. At the heart of this system was the Chanyu, the supreme ruler, who held both political and religious authority. The Chanyu was supported by a council of nobles and tribal leaders, who played crucial roles in the administration and governance of the empire. The governance system of the Xiongnu can be described as a confederation of semi-autonomous tribes and clans, each led by their own chieftains or kings. These tribal leaders owed allegiance to the Chanyu and were expected to provide military support and tribute. In return, they were granted a degree of autonomy in managing their own affairs. This decentralized system allowed the Xiongnu to integrate various ethnic groups and maintain stability over their expansive domain. The Chanyu was the central figure in the Xiongnu political structure, serving as the supreme leader with overarching authority over the confederation. The position of Chanyu was typically hereditary, passed down within a noble lineage, although succession could be contested through internal power struggles. The Chanyu was not only a political leader but also held religious significance, often regarded as possessing a divine mandate to rule. The Chanyu's responsibilities included overseeing military campaigns, conducting diplomacy with neighboring states, and ensuring the distribution of resources and wealth among the tribes. They played a crucial role in maintaining unity and cohesion within the Xiongnu Confederation, balancing the interests of various tribal factions. The Chanyu's ability to command loyalty and respect from the nobility was essential for the stability and expansion of the empire. Several notable Chanyu left a significant impact on the history and development of the Xiongnu Empire. Modu Chanyu, r. 209 to 174 BCE. Modu Chanyu is often credited with founding the Xiongnu Empire and establishing its dominance over the Central Asian steppes. Under his leadership, the Xiongnu united various nomadic tribes and expanded their territory through successful military campaigns. Modu Chanyu implemented key administrative and military reforms that strengthened the confederation's cohesion and efficiency. His reign marked the beginning of the Xiongnu's golden age. Laoshang Chanyu, r. 174–160 BCE, Laoshang Chanyu, Modu's son, continued his father's expansionist policies and further consolidated Xiongnu power. He is known for his campaigns against the Yuezhi and other nomadic groups, as well as for maintaining a strategic balance in relations with the Han Dynasty. Laoshang's reign saw the Xiongnu Empire reach the height of its territorial extent. Jiji Chanyu, r. 56–36 BCE, Jiji Chanyu's reign was marked by internal conflicts and power struggles within the Xiongnu Confederation. Despite these challenges, he attempted to maintain the empire's stability and engaged in diplomatic efforts with the Han Dynasty. His reign illustrates the complexities of Xiongnu politics and the difficulties of managing a vast and diverse empire. Hahanye Chanyu, r. 58–31 BCE, Hahanye Chanyu is known for his efforts to establish peaceful relations with the Han Dynasty through the policy of Hekan, or peace marriage. By marrying a Han princess, Hahanye aimed to secure a lasting alliance and access to Chinese resources. His reign exemplifies the diplomatic strategies employed by the Xiongnu to navigate their relations with powerful neighbors. The administrative and military organization of the Xiongnu was highly sophisticated and crucial to their success as a nomadic empire. The empire was divided into regions, each governed by a noble or tribal leader who managed local affairs and ensured the collection of tribute and resources for the central authority. The military was the backbone of the Xiongnu Empire, with a well-organized structure that enabled rapid mobilization and effective campaigns. The Xiongnu army was composed primarily of highly skilled cavalry, adept at using composite bows and employing hit-and-run tactics. The military hierarchy included commanders of different ranks, responsible for leading contingents of warriors from various tribes. The Chanyu had a personal guard and elite units that ensured his security and served as the core of the Xiongnu military force. These elite units were crucial during major battles and were often composed of the best warriors from across the Confederation. In addition to their military prowess, the Xiongnu maintained a network of spies and informants who gathered intelligence on rival states and potential threats. This intelligence network played a vital role in the Xiongnu's strategic planning and decision-making processes. The Xiongnu also developed an efficient system of communication and logistics to support their military operations. They utilized relay stations and mounted messengers to convey orders and information quickly across vast distances. This system allowed the Chanyu to maintain control over distant regions and coordinate large-scale military campaigns. The military organization of the Xiongnu Empire was a highly structured and efficient system that allowed them to dominate the Central Asian steppes and pose a significant threat to their neighbors. The backbone of the Xiongnu military was its cavalry, which was renowned for its speed, agility, and skilled horsemanship. The Xiongnu warriors were adept at using composite bows, a weapon that offered both range and power, making them formidable opponents in both close and long-range combat. The Xiongnu army was divided into various units based on clans and tribes, each led by their own chieftains or nobles who were directly accountable to the Chanyu. This decentralized command structure allowed for flexibility and rapid response in battle, as local leaders could make tactical decisions without waiting for orders from the central command. At the top of the military hierarchy was the Chanyu, who served as the supreme commander. The Chanyu was supported by a council of generals and high-ranking nobles who oversaw large contingents of the army. These generals were often appointed based on their loyalty, military prowess, and ability to command respect from their troops. In addition to the regular cavalry, the Xiongnu maintained elite units that served as the Chanyu's personal guard. These elite warriors were highly trained and equipped with the best weapons and armor available. Their primary role was to protect the Chanyu and serve as shock troops in major battles. Battle of Baidang, 200 BCE, one of the most significant early battles between the Xiongnu and the Han Dynasty occurred at Baidang, near modern-day Datong. The Xiongnu, led by Modu Chanyu, successfully encircled the Han forces under Emperor Gaozu. After a protracted standoff, the Han Emperor negotiated a peace treaty, marking the beginning of the Hekin policy, where the Han would send tribute and marry Chinese princesses to Xiongnu leaders to maintain peace. Campaigns against the Yuezhi. Circa 174 BCE, under Laoshang Chanyu, the Xiongnu launched a series of successful campaigns against the Yuezhi, a powerful nomadic tribe in Central Asia. The defeat of the Yuezhi solidified Xiongnu control over the western regions of their empire and forced the Yuezhi to migrate westward, eventually contributing to the destabilization of the Hellenistic kingdoms in the region. Wars with the Han Dynasty, 133 to 89 BCE, during the reigns of multiple Chanyu, the Xiongnu engaged in prolonged conflicts with the Han Dynasty. These wars saw numerous battles and skirmishes along the northern frontier. Key moments include the Han campaigns led by generals like Wei Qing and Huo Qubing, who achieved significant victories and temporarily weakened Xiongnu power. Despite these setbacks, the Xiongnu managed to regroup and continue resisting Han dominance. Battle of Mobei, 119 BCE, one of the decisive confrontations between the Han Dynasty and the Xiongnu took place at Mobei, where Han forces led by Wei Qing and Huo Qubing launched a massive offensive against the Xiongnu. The Han achieved a significant victory, forcing the Xiongnu to retreat further north and marking a turning point in the Han-Xiongnu conflicts. The Xiongnu maintained complex and often contentious relationships with neighboring tribes and states. Their primary rival was the Han Dynasty of China, with whom they engaged in a mix of warfare, diplomacy, and trade. The Hekin policy, involving the exchange of tribute and marriage alliances, was a key strategy to manage relations with the Han and prevent large-scale invasions. Apart from the Han, the Xiongnu had interactions with other nomadic groups such as the Yuezhi, Wusun, and Shanbei. These interactions ranged from alliances and trade partnerships to fierce conflicts over territory and resources. The Xiongnu's ability to integrate various tribes into their confederation allowed them to maintain a dominant position in the steppes. In the west, the Xiongnu's influence extended into Central Asia, where they interacted with Hellenistic states and later the emerging Xiongnu Empire. Their control over key trade routes facilitated the exchange of goods and ideas, contributing to the cultural and economic dynamism of the region. The military strategies and tactics of the Xiongnu were primarily centered around their strengths as a nomadic cavalry force. Key elements included mobility and speed. The Xiongnu excelled in rapid movement across vast distances, utilizing their horses to cover ground quickly and strike unexpectedly. This mobility allowed them to launch surprise attacks and evade larger, slower-moving armies. Hit-and-run tactics. The Xiongnu frequently employed hit-and-run tactics, launching swift raids on enemy positions and retreating before the enemy could effectively respond. These tactics were particularly effective against settled societies with fixed defenses. Encirclement and ambush. The Xiongnu were masters of encirclement and ambush strategies. They often lured enemy forces into traps, using feigned retreats to draw them into vulnerable positions before launching a coordinated assault from multiple directions. Composite bows. The use of composite bows provided the Xiongnu with a significant advantage in ranged combat. These bows were highly effective from horseback, allowing Xiongnu warriors to maintain mobility while delivering powerful and accurate shots. Psychological warfare. The Xiongnu also employed psychological tactics to intimidate their enemies. Their reputation for brutality and their ability to mobilize large, fearsome cavalry units often caused opponents to capitulate or flee without a fight. Diplomacy and alliances. In addition to military prowess, the Xiongnu skillfully used diplomacy to manage relations with other powers. By forging alliances, negotiating treaties, and engaging in trade, they could secure resources and strategic advantages without resorting to constant warfare. The economic foundation of the Xiongnu Empire was rooted in a nomadic lifestyle centered around animal husbandry. The Xiongnu were primarily pastoralists, relying on the grazing of livestock such as horses, sheep, goats, and cattle for their sustenance and livelihood. They practiced transhumance, moving their herds seasonally to access fresh pastures and water sources across the vast steppes of Central Asia. Livestock played a crucial role in Xiongnu society, not only as a source of food and clothing but also as a measure of wealth and status. The wealth and influence of Xiongnu leaders were often determined by the size and quality of their herds. Additionally, horses held particular significance due to their utility in transportation, warfare, and trade, contributing to the Xiongnu's military strength and economic prosperity. The nomadic lifestyle of the Xiongnu enabled them to adapt flexibly to the challenges of their environment, including harsh climatic conditions and seasonal variations in resources. Their mobility allowed them to exploit different ecological zones and maintain sustainable practices in resource management, ensuring the long-term viability of their pastoral economy. Trade played a significant role in the economic dynamics of the Xiongnu Empire, facilitating exchanges of goods, technologies, and cultural influences with neighboring civilizations and nomadic tribes. The Xiongnu were strategically located along key trade routes that connected East Asia with Central Asia, facilitating the flow of commodities such as silk, spices, precious metals, and luxury goods. The Xiongnu acted as intermediaries in the transcontinental trade networks that spanned from China to the Mediterranean, benefiting from their control over strategic passages and commercial hubs. They engaged in both overland trade along the Silk Road routes and maritime trade via the northern routes of the Silk Route, connecting with Han China, Parthian Persia, and Roman territories. The wealth accumulated through trade contributed to the economic prosperity of the Xiongnu Empire, allowing them to acquire luxury items, exotic goods, and advanced technologies from distant regions. This economic wealth enhanced their prestige and influence, enabling them to sustain their military campaigns, support their elite classes, and maintain political stability within their vast territorial domain. Daily life among the Xiongnu was shaped by their nomadic lifestyle and hierarchical social structure. The majority of the population engaged in pastoral activities, such as herding livestock, hunting, and gathering, which formed the basis of their economy and sustenance. The mobility of the Xiongnu allowed them to follow seasonal patterns of grazing, moving their camps with the changing availability of resources across the steppes. Societal roles were largely determined by kinship and hierarchy. At the top of the social hierarchy was the Chanyu, who held supreme political and religious authority. Below the Chanyu were nobles, tribal leaders, and warriors who played essential roles in governance, military campaigns, and the administration of justice within the community. Women also held significant roles in Xiongnu society, participating in economic activities, managing household affairs, and sometimes even assuming leadership positions in the absence of male heirs. The religious and spiritual beliefs of the Xiongnu are not extensively documented, but they likely encompassed a combination of animism, shamanism, and ancestor worship. Central to their beliefs was a reverence for nature and the spiritual significance of animals, particularly horses, which held symbolic importance in rituals and ceremonies. Shamans played a vital role in Xiongnu society, serving as intermediaries between the human world and the spirit realm. They conducted rituals to ensure the well-being of the community, performed divination to predict the outcomes of military campaigns, and communicated with ancestral spirits to seek guidance and protection. Xiongnu art and material culture reflected their nomadic lifestyle and cultural interactions with neighboring civilizations. Artifacts such as gold ornaments, intricately designed jewelry, and finely crafted weapons showcase their skill in metallurgy and craftsmanship. These artifacts often featured motifs influenced by both nomadic and sedentary cultures, illustrating the Xiongnu's role as cultural intermediaries in Eurasia. Music and oral traditions were integral to Xiongnu culture, serving as forms of entertainment, cultural expression, and historical preservation. Songs and epic narratives celebrated heroic deeds, commemorated significant events, and transmitted knowledge from one generation to the next. Although written literature was limited, the oral traditions of the Xiongnu contributed to the preservation of their cultural identity and historical memory. Burial practices among the Xiongnu were elaborate and reflected their social hierarchy and spiritual beliefs. Elite members of society were interred in elaborate burial mounds, known as kurgans, which contained richly furnished tombs filled with valuable artifacts, weapons, and offerings. These burial mounds served not only as repositories for the deceased but also as symbols of status and power within Xiongnu society. Archaeological excavations at sites such as the Noin Ula burial complex in northern Mongolia have revealed the sophistication of Xiongnu burial practices and the wealth accumulated by their elite classes. The discovery of multiple burial chambers, horse sacrifices, and ritual offerings provides insights into their beliefs about the afterlife and the importance of material wealth in ensuring a prosperous journey into the next world. The relationship between the Xiongnu and China, particularly the Han Dynasty, was characterized by a complex interplay of diplomacy, conflict, and cultural exchange. Early interactions between the Xiongnu and Chinese states date back to the Eastern Zhou period, 8th–3rd century BCE, but it was during the Qin and Han dynasties that relations became more pronounced and often confrontational. The Xiongnu first emerged as a significant threat to Chinese states during the Qin dynasty, 221 to 206 BCE, when they raided northern frontier settlements and engaged in skirmishes with Qin military forces. These early conflicts set the stage for centuries of rivalry and occasional alliances between the Xiongnu and successive Chinese dynasties. Diplomatic relations between the Xiongnu and Han dynasty were marked by efforts to manage border tensions and prevent large-scale conflicts. One notable diplomatic strategy employed by the Han was the Hekan policy, or peace and kinship, initiated during Emperor Gaozu's reign, 206–195 BCE. This policy involved the exchange of tribute and marriage alliances, where Han princesses were married off to Xiongnu Chanyu to secure peace along the northern frontier. Trade relations also played a significant role in Han-Xiongnu interactions. The Xiongnu controlled key segments of the Silk Road routes, facilitating trade between East and West. Chinese silk, ceramics, and luxury goods were exchanged for Xiongnu horses, furs, and other products from the steppes. This trade benefited both sides economically and culturally, despite occasional disruptions due to political tensions. The construction of the Great Wall of China during the Qin and Han dynasties was a direct response to the Xiongnu threat. Qin Shi Huang initiated the building of early walls to defend against northern nomadic incursions, but it was during the Han dynasty that the Great Wall took shape as a massive defensive barrier. Under Emperor Qin Shi Huang and subsequent Han emperors, extensive fortifications were built along the northern frontier to protect against Xiongnu raids and invasions. These walls served not only as military defenses but also as symbols of Han authority and territorial control. Despite these efforts, the Great Wall did not completely deter Xiongnu incursions, leading to continued military engagements along the frontier. The Han-Xiongnu Wars were a series of military conflicts and diplomatic negotiations that spanned several centuries, with periods of intense warfare interspersed with attempts at peace treaties and alliances. Key moments include early conflicts. The Xiongnu raids and incursions during the Qin and early Han dynasties prompted retaliatory campaigns by Han military commanders. Despite initial setbacks, Han generals such as Wei Qing and Huo Qubing achieved significant victories that temporarily weakened Xiongnu power. Treaties and alliances. The Hekan policy, initiated by Emperor Gaozu and continued by subsequent emperors, aimed to maintain peace through diplomatic marriages and regular tribute payments. While these treaties provided periods of stability, they also underscored the Han dynasty's recognition of the Xiongnu as a formidable and influential neighbor. Later wars and shifts in power. The Han-Xiongnu conflicts continued into the 1st century BCE and beyond, with fluctuations in power and territorial control. The Xiongnu Chanyu alternated between aggressive expansionist policies and periods of negotiation and tribute acceptance, influenced by internal power struggles and external pressures. Internal strife and political fragmentation played a significant role in the decline of the Xiongnu Empire. The Xiongnu political structure was decentralized, with power distributed among tribal leaders and nobles who often competed for influence and resources. Succession disputes, rivalries among noble families, and challenges to central authority weakened the cohesion of the empire. After periods of strong leadership under Chanyus like Modu and Laoshang, internal divisions intensified, leading to factionalism and civil unrest within the confederation. Some Chanyus faced opposition from rival claimants to the throne, while others struggled to maintain control over distant territories and nomadic tribes under their nominal authority. External pressures from neighboring states and nomadic confederations also contributed to the decline of the Xiongnu Empire. The Han Dynasty of China, in particular, adopted a more aggressive stance against the Xiongnu during the later stages of their interactions. Han military campaigns, led by generals like Wei Qing and Huo Qubing, inflicted significant losses on the Xiongnu and challenged their territorial control. In addition to Han aggression, other nomadic groups such as the Shanbei and Wawan encroached upon Xiongnu territory, competing for grazing lands and strategic resources in the steppes. These external pressures further fragmented the Xiongnu confederation and weakened their ability to mount effective resistance against multiple adversaries. The Xiongnu Empire profoundly influenced later nomadic empires that emerged in Central Asia and beyond. Their military strategies, particularly in cavalry warfare and strategic mobility, set a precedent for subsequent nomadic confederations. The organizational structure of the Xiongnu, characterized by decentralized leadership and tribal alliances, served as a model for later empires like the Turks and Mongols, who adapted and expanded upon these methods in their own conquests and governance. The Xiongnu's role as cultural intermediaries along the Silk Road contributed to the exchange of ideas, technologies, and artistic traditions between East and West. Their interactions with neighboring civilizations left a cultural imprint that persisted through subsequent centuries. Moreover, recent archaeological findings and genetic studies have shed light on the genetic legacy of the Xiongnu in modern populations of Central Asia and East Asia, indicating their lasting impact on the genetic diversity of Eurasian populations. Historical interpretations of the Xiongnu have evolved over time, reflecting changing perspectives and access to archaeological evidence. Early Chinese historical accounts often depicted the Xiongnu as a formidable adversary and frequent threat to Han Dynasty stability. Modern scholarship has sought to provide a more nuanced understanding of the Xiongnu, highlighting their political sophistication, cultural contributions, and role in shaping Eurasian geopolitics. The Xiongnu Empire emerged as a formidable nomadic confederation, pioneering military strategies such as cavalry warfare and establishing a decentralized political structure that influenced subsequent nomadic empires. Their control over key trade routes facilitated cultural exchange between East and West along the Silk Road, contributing to the diffusion of ideas, technologies, and artistic traditions across Eurasia. The empire's conflicts and alliances with the Han Dynasty of China set the stage for centuries of geopolitical rivalry and diplomatic negotiations, influencing Chinese frontier policies and military strategies. The Xiongnu Empire's impact on world history is multifaceted. Militarily, their strategies and tactics influenced the development of nomadic military traditions and the integration of nomadic peoples into larger imperial systems. Culturally, they served as conduits for cultural exchange and economic integration along transcontinental trade routes, contributing to the cosmopolitan nature of Eurasian societies during antiquity. Their interactions with Chinese dynasties shaped Chinese frontier defense strategies and diplomatic protocols, leaving a legacy of enduring geopolitical influence. The legacy of the Xiongnu Empire underscores the dynamic interplay between nomadic and sedentary civilizations in ancient Eurasia. Its rise and eventual decline highlight the complexities of nomadic statecraft, environmental adaptation, and the enduring impact of cross-cultural interactions. As we continue to uncover archaeological evidence and genetic insights, the Xiongnu's story remains a compelling chapter in the narrative of human history, illustrating the resilience and adaptability of nomadic societies in the face of changing political landscapes and environmental challenges.